start calming down, please? It's not quite 7 o'clock. We're trying to get it. Well, 7 o'clock on my clock. What do you got? You got 7 o'clock. Call the roll.
Mr. Brazel?
Present.
Dr. Houghton?
Here.
Mr. Farley?
Here.
Mr. Ellis? Mr. Holmes?
Here.
Mr. Rich?
He's out due to a death of his friend.
Mr. Goodwin? You have a forum.
Okay, so the invocation tonight would be by Councilmember Houghton, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Holy Spirit, we ask you fill our city, state, and national leaders with wisdom, understanding, discernment, and knowledge. Grant them favor, increase their faith, and prepare them to pursue your excellence. Draw them to you and cause them to know and fulfill your purposes. Please place citizens, staff, and colleagues in their paths that will provide sound and godly counsel, for without your support, their plans may go awry. Impart your wisdom and revelation to them about leadership and assist them to lead and govern. Guide our council members to keep their hearts, motives, and minds pure. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, Christmas tree lighting's done, which starts the beginning of a long, busy day, busy season. So, just so you remember, you'll see it in the Sandspur, I know, many, many times. December the 3rd is Toys for Tots at the Sand Dollar. If you want to participate with that group. It's always nice to see them, and they are always high dollar collectors for the Toys for Tots. I think they've been, the last couple of years, been the highest collector, not of just toys, but collector of money for the program. December the 8th, Santa in the Park. If you have a child or don't have a child or don't have a grandchild, come out and enjoy everybody else's children and grandchildren as they see Santa. Our Santa takes as much time as they want to take, and we'll talk to them as long as they want to talk, regardless of how cold it might be. So if you're in line, just plan on standing in line for a minute. December the 9th, the Christmas parade, 1 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, the menorah lighting in the park on the night, on the 9th. And the 17th is a combined choir from the three churches for a Christmas cantata at the Baptist Church at 6 p.m. A lot to do, a lot to keep on going on, and along with our own family and friends, having parties and get-togethers. So it's going to be a busy month for everyone. Especially the city council, who's going to be busy working. Welcome to city council, Chris. Staff reports. Mr. Pope.
So first up is a kind of a poll to see if city council has any interest in changing the allowable size of construction signs. Our sign ordinance sets out some standards for temporary signs, including construction signs, and it's 4 feet. However, there is a leftover piece of code that says 12 square feet, which directly contradicts with the 4 square foot. We know that 12 square foot needs to come out. While we researched the issue, we went back to the planning commission meetings, the city council meetings, and the 12 square foot limit should have been removed. It didn't get removed. It's just created a little bit of ambiguity that we're asking you guys to fix. And in that process of enforcing the 4 square foot limit for construction signs, we had with someone with a sign that was a little over 4 square feet. It was about 6 square feet. And we went and we applied the 4 square foot limit and said, hey, this is over the limit. Can't have the sign. And that contractor asked, hey, can I get city council to change the rule to 6 square feet? That's about the size of a standard permit box where they post permits. And so staff can't make that change. So we know we need to take out the square foot language completely because it shouldn't be there. But the question is, do we settle on that 4 square feet for construction signs, or do we make an allowance for a little bit bigger construction signs up to 6 square feet? Love to hear your thoughts on that, and if enough folks are interested, we can start that process. It would require amendment to the ordinance to go to the planning commission for a public hearing and back to you guys for a couple of readings. If there's no interest in making that change, we'll let everyone know and we'll start strictly enforcing the 4 feet.
Is 6 square feet the size of those white boxes like they normally put permits in?
No, sir, 6 is bigger. It'll hide the permit box completely. And the permit box is actually slightly less than 4 square feet.
This permit box is what?
Slightly less than 4
So it's not 4 square feet. The permit box is not.
Correct. Slightly less.
What's the standard size of a construction sign? I mean, is there,
There's
there is
really
no standard?
We've had this standard, we've been enforcing it incorrectly for a while, but it depends on where you go. They're different on Kiowa, they're different on Seabrook, different on Sullivan's, different on, every jurisdiction's got their own limits, and some have no limits at all. Our real estate signs are limited to 4 square feet currently.
So okay, that
So
was
I think that's how we ended up with that.
4 square feet.
Four is just-
Real estate sign, and it's basically the same size. Political signs too, so.
I think there's a.
No.
But I'm fine.
Can just because, like Aaron said, there was a little bit of a disconnect between us and the AmLegal, who puts our stuff online, and they left this section in that we had actually removed. What it had, we did a major revision of our sign ordinance, what was it, 4 years ago or so?
2018.
Longer. And just in general, I think it's a good idea to make all commercial signs subject to the same size limit. It can be, I don't care if it's 4 feet or 8 feet or 12 feet. We do not have a limit on non-commercial signs right now. So they could be as big as you want to make them. Generally speaking, if you were interested in doing a limit on non-commercial signs, I would generally recommend that they be probably bigger than, at least as big as the commercial sign sizes, perhaps bigger. But we don't have that right now. And that was that was discussed 5 years ago. So that's kind of where we are now. Except we have this ambiguity because we have this thing that got left in.
In your letter, you say this would allow contractors to create signs that match the size of a standard permit box. And that would be 2 by 3, but
I defer to Eric.
But
I
that's what I just asked him, and he said a standard permit box is less than 4 square feet.
It is current.
What is
The
it?
white plastic box.
Just pop up. I don't think it's worth arguing about, but 2 by 3 as a maximum is fine with me. The
Right,
guys that have
we
invested,
don't care. It's-
yeah, the guys that have invested in 2 by 2, theirs will still be compliant. 2 by 3 is fine with me.
Is it fair to say what Joe's saying, that we should make it a standard so that a real estate sign could also be the same size, so we're not having multiple standards on commercial signs?
Yeah, right now they're all the same at 4. So if we can take away the 12 and leave them all at 4, or make them all 6, or make them all 8. We
I
just,
certainly wouldn't
Yeah,
go
it
larger
just-
than
It
6.
gets dicey when you start, that can be viewed as regulating the content of the sign. If you set up a different size for construction versus real estate. So I think most people are gonna recommend that all commercial signs have the same standard.
All right, well, let's
I agree.
talk about this. We've only had one person complain about the size of the sign. Everybody else is at 4 by 4. So I
fine with
just
that.
think.
Yeah,
just
I'm
leave
okay
it
with
alone.
4 by
I'm
4.
fine with 4 by 4.
just to be clear,
Keep it consistent.
yeah, it's 2 by 2.
Well, 4 square foot,
4 square
excuse
feet,
me.
right, yeah.
All right.
the next one.
So next up is the RFQ for the compensation study. We have an ordinance that says the city will do a compensation study every 5 years. Our last one was done in 2019, so we are due next year. We kind of piggybacked on a recent RFQ that Isle of Palms did to award their compensation study. And basically what we'll be doing is advertising for someone to come in, analyze everyone's job descriptions, see how the job descriptions match up with reality, and then see how similar job descriptions are treated in other similar communities, and make recommendations for any changes if needed. And one thing we want to specifically try to get these folks to do, it's eluded us in the past, is for some of our larger departments to not just give us the range, but to propose a method for moving up with a clearly defined step system. When right now we have a range, but we have no way to tell employees, this is how you go from step 1 to step 3 to step 7. It's just kind of open-ended. So we'd like to try to advertise that ASAP and hopefully get the results back to incorporate, if needed, into the budget process next year. So we need to advertise it basically now to get it back in mid-March or so we can give it to you guys in time for the budget. I will say that since 2019, the city has taken, in my opinion, great strides to fulfill what was recommended in that study and bring everyone up. The city's been doing a good job. I don't think the results will be the same this time around, but market conditions have changed pretty drastically since 2019.
I'd like to see that it also includes that we look at other compensation, like housing, health, and certification pay, the whole package, and that we just don't compare base salary to base salary. I know last year we struggled, especially when we looked at public safety, with guys that we hire and they have families, we pay all the health benefits, which I think is a good thing, but then it kind of makes things a little bit uneven when we hire somebody without a family, and you start looking at it, and then the compensation package might actually be greater for the new person with a family than a person with no family that's been here for a couple of years. And there's got to be a better way of doing that. I know you talked about that, and you kind of kicked the can by saying we'll just keep it the way it is and we'll pay that full health thing. But this would be a perfect time for us to kind of look at the entire compensation package instead of just looking at starting salaries. So if you could add that into the scope of work.
Anybody else?
Mr. Pope, I would assume that it would include some of the things like vehicles and those types of things. Would it?
It's going to look at all current monetary and non-monetary compensation for us and then compare it to peer communities.
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else?
We need to make a motion, or we can just go?
We'll make that, we'll work that in and we'll get it out and advertised.
Move on to approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve. Have a second?
Second.
Before we vote on it, we'll make a motion under number 11, new business, C, franchise commercial activity award, if we postpone that till December. We have some other stuff we need to go over for that as a council, and some more information you guys need to have, so I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
All right. Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
On the motion to
On the
postpone.
motion?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yeah.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Back to the agenda. Any other? As amended.
All right, as amended, Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brooms?
Yes.
Farley?
Yes.
Bazell?
Yeah.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
So approval of minutes from 10/10/23. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Any corrections or additions? We'll just take it without objection since there's no correction or additions. Personal appearance correct for driveway Dorenberg, Mrs. Dorenberg?
Hello,
Yeah, I hope I got that right.
Thank you. Hi, yes, I'm here to ask your approval for extension of 15 feet. The ordinance on the driveway was installed in May. And Eric,
Well, give
was
us,
an
give us,
ordinance.
so for the record, just give us your name and address.
Oh, Brenda Dronenberg, 117 East Cooper Avenue.
Okay. So, you wanna explain this, Eric? You might be able to explain it better. Or where we are.
Eric, the building official. Jenna and I both signed off on a permit for Mrs. Dronenberg's contractor to install a pervious driveway. In accordance with the ordinance, on the stamp plans that went with the permit, we have it labeled 15-foot max per the ordinance. When it was installed, I don't remember who, somebody's mentioned we should probably check it out. We went and measured it, and field measured it at 20.5 feet. The contractor is ready, willing, and able to come correct it. They're just waiting on the results of this meeting tonight.
So this improper driveway is at 120?
117, it's right down on the road.
But I just got a picture here, it's got 120 written on it, that's why I was asking. That
The
didn't-
Google Maps didn't go quite
Okay.
far enough.
117 East Cooper is the
So
actual.
117 is the actual address.
Yes, sir. And I have a copy of the permit and all the other documents if anybody wants to look at them. You're welcome to.
Okay, y'all heard the request to have a motion? I guess by no motion, you're gonna have to repair it. All right, thank you. Mr. Sanderson,
Yes, sir.
that's you, you're up next.
Guys,
Give us your name and address and all that kind of stuff.
Rob Sanderson, 4012 East Amy Lane, Johns Island, South Carolina. And I'm here representing Westie Productions and Marshall Retail Group for a photo shoot happening in February of 2024. This is a photo shoot to commence on the 13th. Arrivals will be happening on the 12th. Photo shoot is a total of 4 days. That's including a weather contingency day, which might not be needed. We intend to be very respectful of the community. This is a very low impact photo shoot as well. However, there will be, a number of crew, anywhere from 40 down to, we can scale down to 25 people per location. First day, we have slated on the east end of the island. And again, low impact. However, we have permitted or have requested permits from the county for 3 vehicles on that graffiti road to be able to set up there. Those vehicles will remain on asphalt, will not inhibit any kind of beach traffic, foot traffic, and will not, will not damage any kind of green space. And then day 2, we intend to shoot here on Center Street that entire day. We have made contact with all vendors who we are considering and engaging with. Connecting with most of them, not all of them yet. However, that's an ongoing project, but we do have approval from some. Third day would be a shoot that's more off-island, more Oak Island and Bowens Island. But again, low impact. This is still photography. There will be minimal B-roll. Generally speaking, B-roll is also shot from the same equipment, so there won't be a requirement for extra equipment. We're talking about still photography that's handheld.
Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
So you've gone through the events committee, I think, didn't you? Y'all, you're
Correct.
okay?
Yes.
So, Chief, what do you say? You all right?
Yeah, I think there was a couple instances where we requested off-duty security to assist with crowd control, traffic, and direction, things like that, and they agreed with that. So our recommendation at the events committee, I'm stealing your thunder here, was that it was okay with us, obviously with the restrictions that they coordinate with public safety. That was it.
What day,
Go ahead.
what day is it you're gonna be at, near the pier? You're either gonna be on the east side or west side of the pier?
Yep, so the pier, well, the day that we shoot any kind of landscape or beach scenes, that will be down at the east end.
So you're not gonna be at the pier?
The pier, no, we do have the pier slated for, I believe it's the
The
day
restaurant?
Day two, which is February 14th.
Guess you've been out there and
And that has been, we have contacted the, I think it's Pier.
101, the
101,
restaurant.
yes. We've contacted them. We were also, the Tides is gonna be home base, so that will be, we've been coordinating with them. Most of the crew will be staying there. Their accommodations will be there. We'll also, that will be our meeting place each morning. So, again, that will be our kind of landing spot, and we will make sure that we have minimal personnel on each property. We are also permitting the front of each establishment that we're working with.
I thought you were gonna be on the beach, either on the east side or west side of the pier with a photo shoot.
No,
Okay.
that.
It'll be on the pier.
Oh, yes, it will be on the pier, that's
Okay.
correct.
And you've gotten written permission from county parks?
That would be a question for my crew, my team back in Los Angeles, which I can certainly make sure that I get you that information. I can probably text them.
Oh, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, they have certainly put forth
Okay.
all the efforts necessary
Okay.
for that. Now, we are slating a day, county park down on the west end. Obviously conducive to any kind of large equipment or vehicles. The most vehicles that we'll need down on the east end is gonna be 3.
Okay.
The largest probably production will be down at the west end, and we have contact with the county.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Could you speak a little bit more about what is happening on Center Street? I know there was food trucks mentioned, just so that we have a visual as far as.
Absolutely, yeah. So, obviously, this is kind of the story is, let me just give you a little background about the story of the ad campaign, because this is a still photography ad campaign for circulars for, digital, and the story is that, basically 2 girls on a road trip, and they're experiencing new places. And so we want to get the scope of what it means to be like in Folly Beach. So the photo shoots will be happening, like, it will be a maximum of 2 hours at each establishment. So again, we're very nimble, super easy to get around. Minimally invasive. We're not talking about large equipment, large, video equipment. But at each establishment, we're thinking that it's gonna be maximum of 2.5 hours. Lots of exteriors. This photo shoot really encompasses mostly exteriors. And the usage, again, is is not going to be something that's going to be video on television. All the questions that we're receiving from vendors, we are answering whether their establishment is going to be noted or somehow publicized. And it is not other than
Shot.
within the shot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
No. Mr. Pope?
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Brazell?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Get to work?
Already.
Exactly.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Open for citizen comments? Okay. No commission?
May I just state also, wanted to make sure it's clear that we will be using public facilities for restrooms. In the case that we might need to have a portable, that will be taken up with that.
No commissioner board reports. Under old business, ordinance 19 -23. Look, I don't have that. 19. There you go. I'm trying past it, that's why. 19-23, an ordinance amending the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 72, parking regulations by amending Section 72.20, residential parking permits, deleting Section 72.21, sale of parking permits to limit the areas where residential parking passes will be honored, and eliminating the sale of non-residential parking passes. This is the second reading. Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I'd like to propose an amendment that says the changes will go into effect on February 1st, 24. And then my thought behind that is this is a change for our residents, and when people sign up for the 2024 stickers, we can deliver some package to them then that informs them they're only able to park at the beach accesses and not on the public right-of-way with that sticker.
We can't push it to February. We're pushing it to January now with the state. But we can still hand out the packages. Unfortunately, I don't have that leeway. Call Columbia.
I guess.
Call Raleigh.
Raleigh. I guess then what would be prudent to do is we pay for enforcement, and our enforcement people is to tell them, write warnings for a.
I can't tell them that, because we were supposed to already have been doing this, so we pushed it to where we got it to January now, so, you know, we pushed the limit about as far as we can push with DOT. So we just do some advertising, on the website, Facebook, put some more advertisement out there saying, hey, people have already found out that their stickers aren't gonna let them park in paid parking spaces, other than what the beach owns.
Why can't we inform our parking people to write warnings for a while?
We can tell them to write a warning, but still, we gotta get this enforced, and then how we enforce it from there is a different question. But we gotta get it passed and enforced.
I understand. But I hope we can work things out with the enforcement people that we pay, that are on our team, and to say there should be a period of instruction and information, and don't be writing $60 tickets to residents because it changed.
Well, I can't say that in good faith with the state personally, because, like I said, we were supposed to already be enforcing this, and we pushed it to January, and.
Warning tickets are enforcement action.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Call Raleigh. Anybody else?
I withdraw the amendment.
Thank you. We didn't get a second anyway.
You did not?
We didn't ask, me and you started going
No.
back and forth.
I'll withdraw.
Okay.
Anyway.
do it.
I didn't. You looking at me?
Do you have something to say?
No, I thought Aaron.
Dr. Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Bazell,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes second.
For second reading also is ordinance 20-23, an ordinance amending chapter 110 of the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, standardized business license provisions to update the business license classification tables as required by the Business License Standardization Act of 2020. Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Pope?
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Bazell. Yes. Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes second.
So we have a proclamation here for Oyster Recycling Day.
She's outside.
And this is for recycling oyster shells, which is a great idea.
Sorry about this.
No problem.
We already have two businesses, Loggerheads and the Washout, that's working with DNR to recycle oyster shells, which is a great thing.
Yes, they're also a Bohemian Bowl, which I guess is technically James Island. They have very common oyster roast that they'll reach out to us for. Yeah, so it's really important that we really respect your approval of the proclamation, and it allows us to do more outreach and education because, as we all know, oysters are very culturally important to the state, but that cultural importance comes with some responsibility to recycle that oyster shell. And we work very, very hard to recycle shell, but it requires the individual to also come up front and be responsible to recycle their shell. So there are 11 public drop-off bins in Charleston County, the closest one being at Soul Agree. We have a new public drop-off bin in West Ashley that is in the Rogue Motion parking lot. And yeah, we really appreciate your proclamation for Oyster Shell Recycling Day.
DNR used to, if you was having a big event, like we've had a few of them out here, DNR used to have a trailer you could get, like put everything in a trailer and then they would haul it off, or you'd haul it back to DNR and they would do whatever they're gonna do with it. Is that still available?
Right, so we actually have a fleet of 14 trailers now
Okay.
that we are reaching out to oyster roast even as far as Murrells Inlet. Myrtle, we actually delivered a trailer to Myrtle Beach last week. So we are, it's a free service that we provide. We're very proud in having a free service that we can provide to the entire state. The majority of the restaurants and the oyster roasts that we service are of course in Charleston County because of the staff and the volunteers we have to help us support that.
Not reading this whole proclamation
That's
here,
okay.
but so one thing that was in the proclamation was simply tossing your oyster shells in a river without quarantine process, even with the best intentions, won't help because they could introduce pathogens and invasive species to local ecosystems. So y'all like sterilize and then bag them to put these.
So they're quarantined, so they're allowed to at least 6 months to bake in the sun to allow any of the dead tissues to die off. Because you have to remember, over 100,000 bushels are being imported from other states and harvested, and we don't want to introduce any of those potential harmful pathogens. And then that shell is either being bagged to be put on the shoreline for ecological purposes, or we're also doing loose shell plantings and harvestable grounds for the public and commercial fishermen to use.
So the loose shell plantings are when we see the barge and the track hoe, small track hoe moving shells in the river.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so I have a motion to approve the proclamation for recognizing Oyster Recycling Day.
So moved.
Is it a second?
Second.
Y'all have any other questions for?
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I do want to say too, we have to purchase oyster shell every year out of state because we never recycle enough. And even though we recycle like 10 to 13% of what we can in the state. So again, that's why this proclamation is so important to us, because your public approval and public support just gets other people on board, so,
Everybody having an oyster roast, recycle those shells.
yep, thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to call a roll?
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yeah.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
So we have a nomination for the Tourism and Visitor Promotion Committee. One, hospitality, Nathan Foster. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right.
You figure it out.
Either way. We had one opening and one nomination, so
Okay.
I'm ready.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor
Thank you.
Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
So we're down to resolution 4923. Resolution by Folly Beach City Council adopting the 2024 regular meeting calendars for the Folly Beach City Council, Planning Commission, Design and Review Board, Parks and Recreation Board, and the official holiday calendar. Have a motion to approve? Have a second?
Second.
I think Chris seconded. Okay, I didn't know if you were. Go ahead.
All right. Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yeah.
Passes.
Okay. Resolution 50-23. Resolution by Folly Beach City Council awarding sole source contract for consulting and design services for the East Arctic Dune Infiltration Project. Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
So what this is for folks that are sitting there saying, what is a dune infiltration project? This is to take water off of the, rainwater, storm water off of the beach, off the street, and introduce it into the dunes in a manner where it can filter, the dunes and the sand can filter the water and put it back into the system. There's one project in North Carolina. We hope to be the first pilot project in South Carolina, and help get some of the water off the street after a lot of rain. So, you know, this is one way to do it. It's been working up there pretty good so far, so hopefully it'll work for us just as well.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great idea.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yeah.
Passes.
Resolution 51-23, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council adopting the Folly 2050 Planning for Water Report. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second? This is the Rising Water Report. Dr. Elko does a great job, great presentation. As we all know that the water's coming, depending on where you're at. My house gets water when it didn't used to in years past. And work with some of the, what she was gonna work with to give you signs?
That's the aquarium.
Aquarium. You'll see some signs go up around saying, oh, if you have a king tide and northeast winds at my house, you can expect 4 feet of water. You know, that kind of thing. So in the future, you'll know different places around, what it looks like.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 52-23, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the South Carolina Aquarium for the Sea Rise Citizen Project we just talked about.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 52-23, resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to sign an agreement with AMT Engineering in the amount of $9,959.68 for a speed study in preparation of South Carolina DOT required submittals for the installation of 2 radar speed monitoring devices. Have a motion to approval?
So moved.
About a second?
Second.
So to be transparent here and upfront, step on up here, Chief, for a minute.
Sure.
Just because we do this speed study doesn't mean that we will qualify to put up the signs.
Yes, sir.
We are about, you explain to everybody how far ahead we are, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
staff
so
report.
we had a meeting with DOT, specifically talking about a lot of the concerns that have come up since the obviously well-publicized fatal crash that we had. And they pulled stats and compared our stats with the rest of the state, and we were well under state percentages for a community, for any community. You know, I was talking about in our staff meeting earlier, if you also talk about how much interaction we have as a community between pedestrians, bicyclists, golf carts, and vehicles, it makes those percentages even better. We have a speed sign here at the boat landing. We also have a mobile one that we move throughout the city. And I can tell you, we move that sign around all the time. We keep it there for weeks on end. We pull the stats, we look at them. Yes, we have outliers like any city around, but overall, our speeds and our average speeds are at or under the speed limit. We will continue our enforcement. But these signs here are just one way that, look, if we put those signs out there and they find different information than what we get with our radar sign, that's information we can provide to the DOT to help with some of the maybe tactics that they might have to help, you know, with what problem they observe. And that's what this is all about.
What I understand too is that if it has 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, we have to average 5 miles an hour over
So
that.
it's not so much about that. They call it the 85th percentile speed. So it basically, overwhelming majority of the people have to be exceeding whatever posted speed limit in order for there to be a change that is needed, right? And it works the other way too. The reason we were able to go down to 25 miles an hour is because our 85 percentile speed was that low.
Right.
So again, I understand that there's outliers, I understand that people speed, that's the way it is in every city and state around this country and around the world. It's just to say that we're trying to find out if there's a problem, and if there is, then address it, and this is part of that.
Put them in some hot spots, will you?
That's it.
These cities will keep data. They won't just be awareness signs, but they'll track number of
Yes.
cars and cars and
Yes,
spaces.
it'll do car counts, it'll do 85 percentile speed, it'll do, basically, it'll track all the outliers, puts them into spreadsheets, and it's stuff that we can submit back to the DOT.
I hate spending this money because it just blows my mind that we have to do a study to put something up that really is just raising public awareness and
Yeah.
trying to get people to slow down, but there's no alternative for us other than this, so
That's correct.
certainly support it.
You're being proactive, so thank you.
100%, yeah.
All right, Mr. Pope. Thank you, Trey.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle?
Yes.
Mr. Farland?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yeah.
Passes.
Resolution 54-23, a resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to enter into a contract with the College of Charleston Office of Tourism Analysis for the provision of an economic impact study in the amount of $12,500. Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
When was the last time we did this?
2014.
2014. So this economic impact study, it talks about how much tourism how much the beach is influenced in tourism here on the beach. And this isn't just people just coming to stay a week or 3 days or 2 days. This is also counts, these guys count in the day trippers. So we have to have this kind of information every time I have to go to Washington or I have to go to the state to make a presentation. And this is just gonna bring the data up to date. So when I stand up here and give them data about how many thousands and thousands of dollars we, as a city, put back in the coffers of the state of South Carolina, we know that we're correct and we're on target.
Seems like, I know FAB has put in a request for a economic impact statement, which I thought was a little early because we're pretty new into the SDR stuff. But will this address any of their
No,
concerns?
this is different than what they're requesting. And what they're requesting, when you're reading through the request, they were requesting data that's really very fluid and very flexible, because I don't know, they want a 10-year study done on rentals. Well, I don't know in 10 years how many times you're gonna raise your rates. Just like hospitality taxes, I don't know how many times you're gonna raise the price of a drink or a cheeseburger, so it's hard. What they were looking for, I would say if FAB wants a study done the way they were looking for it, they fund it. This gives us information to take back saying the beach is creating this amount of tourism dollars.
And that's what helps us get grants.
That's what helps us get beach renourishment and grants.
Could they go to FAB and ask some questions from them about what they were looking for, or is it?
So
Do
the
what?
study that FAB requested is for an STR business impact analysis, both from private employment and public revenue. This is a study of revenues generated by the sand and surf beach.
Okay.
Folly Beach.
Okay.
And we need that to justify the renourishment.
That's clear.
So they're
Okay.
kind of two
Completely different
things.
things.
Thank you.
Mr. Pope?
Mr. Brooms.
Yes.
Mr. Brazil.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, so there's council comments, and Mr. Brazil will break you in with number one tonight.
All right. Well, very honored to be up here tonight. I did want to have one piece of business. I need to name Paula Stubblefield as my appointee for the Planning Commission. And additionally, the one thing, registration's open right now, but the Folly Civic Club's having a blood drive on December 14th at the Tides. Their goal this time is to have 100 pints. 100 pints is what the MUSC transfuses every day, so it's a pretty solid target. I think it's ambitious, but I think it's doable. So go to the Folly Civic Club website, and there's a link there that you can sign up. I think there's a lot of times available, but I know that they would be very appreciative of that support. So thank you again.
Well, I'm thankful and happy to be here. And as a result of that, I also celebrate Folly Beach and our collegiality and the work that we do together. So in light of that, we need a party. And so I'm inviting everyone Wednesday, December 13th, 5 to 7 at the Crab Shack. And that will also be in the Folly Current. And indeed, it's a thank you and it's a celebration of us. So I'm grateful.
Farley?
I should have told Chris I usually handle the blood drive announcements, but it is 93, and they are going for 100 pints, and that is exactly about what the university blood bank goes through in a single day. So it is ambitious for us. Also, I'd like to welcome Chris, welcome aboard, and look for a lot of productivity over the next 2 years for me and 4 years for everyone else. And I'd also like to recognize that Vanessa, our turtle lady, was recognized as a Volunteer of the Year for South Carolina DNR, the Marine Turtle Conservation Program. So she was Volunteer of the Year. That's a big deal, and she gives just countless hours in that effort, and trash sweeps and everything else. So congratulations to one of our own for being recognized statewide. That's all.
Harvard to follow. We recently, the Exchange Club had a pickleball tournament,
Oh, Lord.
and with that comes our
Pickles.
pickles there for the mayor, as well as,
Ready,
we
bud?
got the mayor a tank top this year.
Yeah.
I think he'll look good in that. As well as a sweat towel, because it's always hard to, when you're sweating. And also, give you an honorary first place. And I'd like to welcome Chris for winning his medal here. Here we go.
Thanks so much.
And Catherine, you get yours.
Thank you, Starshine.
There we go. Mr. Farley, we get you one. And Aaron, we'll go ahead and get you one too. All right. And Joe, we got you one, buddy. There you go. There we go. And Wes. Don't forget Wes. You're all winners. Thank you.
All right, have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Off the record, 7:50. Have a good rest of your week.
Do you have any big plans?
Party. Wednesday, right after the.
Oh, Molly.